The truth is, the moment I walked into that Team USA gym, I already knew what everyone was thinking about me. Nobody had to say it out loud. I had heard it for months. I wasn't ready. I didn't belong. I wasn't chosen when it mattered most. The Olympic roster came out, and my name wasn't on it. That moment stayed with me, not because it broke me, but because it showed me exactly where I stood, or at least where people thought I stood. So when I stepped onto that floor for my Team USA debut, I wasn't there to prove them wrong with words. I was there to let the game speak for me. I remember the first few seconds clearly. The ball felt the same in my hands, but everything else felt different. This wasn't college. This wasn't the WNBA. This was Team USA, the best players in the world. Veterans who had earned everything over years, and I could feel their eyes on me, not hostile, not welcoming either, just watching, evaluating, waiting to see if I was real or just hype. I didn't rush. That was the first decision I made. I wasn't going to force anything. I wasn't going to chase a moment. I was going to control it. When I brought the ball up, I could see the defense reacting immediately. They were already worried about the shot. That's the thing people don't always understand. Sometimes the biggest impact you make isn't the shot you take. It's the space you create. I stepped out deeper, further than most players would. And just like that, the defense stretched with me. The floor opened, passing lanes appeared, teammates had room to move. And that's when I knew I didn't need to prove I belonged. I already did. Every pass I made had a purpose. Every movement was intentional. I wasn't playing like someone trying to survive. I was playing like someone who understood exactly what was happening. And slowly I started to feel something shift. You can see it in body language before you hear it in words. Teammates started moving with confidence. They trusted the timing. They trusted the rhythm. The offense wasn't stuck anymore. It was flowing, and the crowd felt it too. You can always tell when the energy changes, people lean forward, the noise changes, the anticipation builds. I wasn't trying to be the star. I was trying to be the connector. And that's when I realized something important. This wasn't about the Olympic snub anymore. This wasn't about proving anyone wrong. This was about showing what happens when I'm given the chance to simply play my game, because when I play my game, everything changes. What people don't see is how quiet those moments really are. When you're standing there, holding the ball, hearing thousands of people, but somehow feeling completely alone with your decisions. Every choice matters. Every second reveals something. And I could feel that this wasn't just another game. This was a test. Not the kind you study for, the kind you live through. I remember one possession early on, the play that was called wasn't for me. It was designed to go inside. So that's how Team USA had always played, system first. Structure first, respect the hierarchy. And I respected that, but I also saw something else. The defender guarding me wasn't close. She was hesitating, afraid of the shot, afraid of what might happen if she gave me even a second. So I stepped back, not to break the system, but to expand it. In that moment, everything stretched. The defense froze, teammates paused, and I could feel the weight of the decision in my hands. Shoot and make a statement, or pass and build trust. I passed, and the layup that followed was easy, simple, but it meant more than any deep three ever could. Because that's when they started to understand me. I wasn't there to take over. I was there to make everyone better. You could see it in their reactions, the way they looked at me after the play, the nods, the communication, the small things that don't show up on highlights but mean everything inside a locker room. Respect isn't given in Team USA. It's earned possession by possession. And I kept earning it. I could hear the bench reacting differently now. Not surprised, not questioning, just responding, moving with me, trusting the rhythm. The game slowed down. That's always how I know I'm in control. When everything feels calm, even when it's chaotic, when the noise fades, and all I see are angles and opportunities. I wasn't thinking about critics anymore. I wasn't thinking about the roster. I was thinking about the next read, the next pass, the next moment, because I knew something they didn't. This wasn't the end of my Team USA story. This was the beginning of it. And the more I played, the more obvious it became. I wasn't trying to fit into Team USA. Team USA was starting to move with me. What really changed everything wasn't one shot. It was the way the game started reacting to me. I could feel defenders picking me up earlier. Sometimes the moment I crossed half court, not because I had already scored, but because of what they thought I might do. That's gravity. And gravity doesn't show up in the box score. It shows up in space. Suddenly, lanes were wider. Passing angles opened. Teammates had more time than they were used to, and when I saw that happening, I knew exactly what my role was. Not to force, not to prove, but to control. I remember coming off a screen and seeing two defenders jump toward me without hesitation. For a split second, I could have taken the shot anyway. That's what people expect from me. But that's not what the moment needed. I swung the ball immediately, one extra pass, then another, and suddenly someone else was wide open under the rim. Easy points, I didn't celebrate. I just turned and ran back, but inside I felt it. That shift. That acceptance because they knew and I knew this worked. You have to understand Team USA isn't impressed by hype. Everyone there has been the best player somewhere. Everyone there has carried expectations, so they don't care what people say about you. They care what happens when the ball is in your hands and possession after possession. I showed them something simple. I wasn't speeding the game up for myself. I was slowing it down for everyone else. I could hear the bench talking more now, communicating, pointing things out before I even said them. That's when you know trust is forming, not forced, not political, real earned. And the coaches saw it too. I could see them watching closely, not reacting emotionally, just observing, evaluating. That's what they do, but their body language changed. They weren't wondering anymore. They were learning. The crowd felt it too. Every time I touched the ball, there was this anticipation, not pressure or energy, like everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. And that's when I realized something important. I didn't need to do anything extra. I just needed to be myself, because myself was enough. This wasn't about proving I belonged. That part was already happening. This was about showing why I belonged, and there's a difference. Anyone can play hard, anyone can try to force moments, but controlling moments, that's different. That's what separates you. By the time I went to the bench, everything felt different than when I had walked onto the floor. Teammates talked to me like I had always been there. Coaches spoke to me directly, confidently, not cautiously. And I could feel the narrative changing in real time, not because of something I said, but because of what they saw. That's the thing about basketball. It always tells the truth. When I sat down on the bench, I didn't feel relief. I felt clarity. Because for the first time since all the noise started, nothing felt uncertain anymore. Not my place, not my role, not my future here. I watched the game continue in front of me, but I wasn't watching like an outsider. I was watching like someone who understood exactly where this was going, and that feeling is different. You don't chase validation anymore, you recognize it. One of the veterans leaned over and said something simple. Keep doing that. That was it. 2 words. But those 2 words meant more than any headline ever could. Because respect inside that locker room isn't given for potential. It's given for control. And they had just seen mine. I remember grabbing a towel and looking back at the court. The spacing still looked different. The tempo still looked faster. And I realized something that most people never see. Even when you're not on the floor, your presence can still shape the game. Because once defenders adjust to you, they don't immediately forget. They stay stretched. They stay cautious. And that changes everything for everyone else. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about one debut. This was about influence. Real influence. The kind you can't fake. The kind that doesn't disappear when you leave one league, one team, or one moment. It travels with you. After the game, the questions started immediately. Cameras, reporters, everyone asking the same thing in different ways. Did I feel ready? Did I feel like I belonged? Did the Olympic snub motivate me? I answered calmly, respectfully, but inside I already knew the truth. I didn't need revenge. Revenge is emotional. This was bigger than emotion. This was confirmation. Because the truth is I never doubted myself. Not once. I understood the situation. I understood the politics. I understood the hierarchy. But understanding something doesn't mean accepting it forever. It just means waiting for the right moment to change it. And that moment had arrived. I could see it in the way my teammates interacted with me in the locker room. The conversations were natural now. Comfortable. They weren't looking at me like a rookie anymore. They were looking at me like a piece of a system, a real piece, someone they could depend on. Even the coaches spoke differently. They didn't simplify things when they talked to me. They trusted me with details, adjustments, decisions, and that trust isn't accidental. It's earned possession by possession. That night, when everything was quiet, I thought about how fast things change. A few months ago, the story was that I wasn't ready, that I needed more time, that I had to wait my turn. But time doesn't decide readiness, performance does. And performance had just spoken. Not loudly, not emotionally, clearly, because once you show you belong at that level, nobody can pretend they didn't see it. The next morning felt different. Not because anyone said anything directly, but because of how they didn't. There was no extra attention, no dramatic praise, no sudden shift in how people treated me. And that's how I knew everything had changed, because in this environment, normal is respect. When people stop treating you like a question mark, that's when you know you become part of the answer. Practice started early, same drills, same routines, same expectations, but now when the ball found me, nobody hesitated, nobody second-guessed the decision. They moved instinctively, cut at the right time, space the floor without being told. That kind of chemistry doesn't come from speeches, it comes from trust. There was a moment during scrimmage I'll never forget. I brought the ball up slowly, reading the defense. One of the veterans was open on the wing, but the defender hesitated just slightly because they were watching me. That hesitation created space. I made the pass. Easy shot. Bucket. She ran back and pointed at me, not celebrating the shot, acknowledging the gravity. That's when you understand your impact isn't always in the stat sheet. Sometimes it's in the space you create, the pressure you attract, the attention you pull away from everyone else, and that's when the game becomes bigger than you. I could feel the rhythm settling in, not forced, not rushed, natural. Every possession felt connected, every decision had purpose. I wasn't trying to prove anything anymore. I was just playing the way I've always played. After practice, one of the coaches stopped me as I was walking off. He didn't smile, he didn't exaggerate. He just said, that's exactly what we need. Simple, direct, real. And moments like that stay with you because they don't come from hype, they come from observation. I went back to the locker room and sat there for a while, thinking about everything that had happened. The criticism, the doubt, the headlines, the debates, all of it. None of that mattered now, because the only thing that ever truly changes perception is exposure. Once people see it up close, once they feel it in real time, once they experience how you affect the game, the conversation shifts automatically. They stop asking if you belong. They start asking how far you can go. And that's when I realized something that most people misunderstand. This was never about forcing my way in. It was about becoming impossible to leave out, because when you change the way the game feels, the game makes space for you. Not out of kindness, out of necessity. That realization didn't make me louder, it made me calmer. Because when you know where you stand, you stop chasing validation. You stop playing for reactions, you start playing for impact. There was another scrimmage later that week, different rotations, different matchups, same stakes. Nothing here was guaranteed. Every possession was still an evaluation. I remember bringing the ball up and hearing nothing, no coach yelling, no teammate calling for it, just silence. That kind of silence tells you something. It means they're watching, waiting. So I made the simple play pass, relocated, got it back, defender stepped up, I pulled from deep. Swish, no celebration, just turned around and ran back. But this time I heard something behind me. Not the crowd, not the coaches. My teammates talking, communicating, following. That's when you understand leadership isn't assigned, it's accepted. And acceptance shows up in the smallest moments. The way people look at you in the huddle, the way they hand you the ball without hesitation, the way they listen when you speak. Later, during a timeout, one of the veterans leaned over and said quietly, "Keep doing that." Not advice, permission. That moment meant more than any headline ever could, because respect inside the room always matters more than noise outside of it. And the truth is, I never needed everyone to believe in me. I just needed the people in that room to see it, because once they did, everything else would follow. You could feel the shift spreading, the energy, the confidence, the belief, not just in me, but in what we could become together. This wasn't about proving the past wrong anymore. It was about building the future, right? And I knew standing there in that jersey, representing something bigger than myself, that this was only the beginning. Because moments like this don't end conversations. They start new ones. And now the question wasn't whether I belonged here. The question was how much I could change once I arrived. The next morning, I got to the gym earlier than everyone else. Not because I had to, because I wanted to. There was something different about empty gyms. No noise, no opinions, no expectations, just you in the game. I started at the same spot, top of the key, one dribble, pull up, miss rebound, again, again, again. Because the truth is, moments like yesterday don't make you satisfied. They make you hungry. Hungry to prove it wasn't a moment. Hungry to make it normal. When the rest of the team started walking in, the energy felt different. Conversations stopped a little sooner. Eyes stayed on me a little longer. Not in a negative way. In a curious way, evaluation had turned into belief. Practice started, coaches didn't say anything special. No announcement, no speech. They didn't need to. They handed me the ball first. That was the message. We ran through sets, defensive rotations, situational drills. Every possession had purpose. At one point, the play broke down. Shot clock low, nothing open. Last year, maybe I forced something. This time, I waited. Read it. Found the cutter. Easy bucket. And when we ran back, I heard the bench react. Not surprised. Expecting. That's when you know the difference. Expectation is heavier than doubt. Because now they're not wondering if you can do it. They're depending on you to do it. Later, during scrimmage, the coaches put me with the starting group, not temporary, not experimental, intentional. I didn't say anything. I just played, controlled the pace, made the reads, took the shots when they were there, passed when they weren't, and something clicked. It wasn't forced. It flowed. After practices, as we walked off the court, one of the assistant coaches stopped me. He didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He just said, this is what we needed. Not hype, not emotion, confirmation. And in that moment, I realized something important. The narrative had already changed, not because of what I said, because of what I showed. You can argue opinions. You can't argue reality. And reality was happening every time I stepped on that floor. I wasn't trying to rewrite history. I was writing what came next. Because once you've felt that shift, once you've seen belief replace doubt, you don't go back, you go forward. And I knew walking out of that gym that the story people thought was finished was just getting started.